Hello and welcome back to the channel. Gonna have a look at grass textures. Some grass textures which was from FS17, I believe actually. I did a video way back from the Thornton farm map on how to take the textures from there and put it into a new map or a different map or whatever else. Because of the kind of yellowy texture that you get when you actually cut the grass. So I've got a comment pop up on that particular video on my YouTube channel asking how we could go about doing this for FS17. So hopefully that's what I'm going to be able to show you today. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use take the Thornton farm map here. I'm going to open up this in Giants Editor. So we'll just go ahead and do that. You'll just have to bear with me with the actual Giants Editor. It is a bit slow if anybody's played around with the Giants Editor. For FS15 version 6.0.5 it was a little bit funky and would do the not responding thing quite regular, but eventually it will actually open up. I want to just show you here what the textures actually look like and what we're going to be working with. So we have our fully grown texture here, and that's fine, no problems. Nice green color, looks good. So I'm going to have my terrain editing window open up here, and we have two different foliage channels. I'm going to change the foliage layer over to the actual grass, and then we're going to have play around with the foliage channels. So we have channel 5 and channel 6. Channel 5 is for partly grown, and then channel 6 is for fully grown. So I'm going to go to my terrain foliage paint mode here, and if I change the foliage channel to channel 5 and then just paint down with my left mouse button, you can see we get this sort of yellowy texture come up. And this is what we're going to be working with here to try and bring that over to another map. I'm not going to play around too much with other maps. I'm just going to use Thornton Farm because, you know, why not? So I'm going to bring these textures into the FS17 version of Thornton Farm. And if I then change over to channel 7, we then go back to our fully grown, which is the green texture. Perfect. So, okay, not going to mess around too much, I just want to show you those textures really quickly. So we'll come out of there, no problem. And then what I need to do is actually find those textures. So for now, we'll just close that down. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up the Thornton Farm map for FS15, and I'm going to open the actual i3D in Notepad++. The reason why I want to do that is because this is where I'm going to locate the actual textures themselves, and this is how I tend to go about doing that. You can scroll around and mess around, trying to find them in the map structure here and go into all the different, texture files and whatever else, but sometimes they're not always in the place you expect them to be. So for me, it's easier to just open up the i3D in Notepad++. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up my find window. I've done this many times, so it automatically brings up my text that I want to look for, which is materials. So just type that in. And we're just going to go find, and I'm going to go find again. We'll close that down. I can just scroll down. You could also do a search for grass if you wanted to, but you might find that it will take you through several different layers of file IDs and whatever else before you actually get to where you want. Always find searching materials, and then scrolling down to my foliage multi-layers is much easier, but whichever way works for you. So what I want to do here is I'm going to work with the we'll work with the actual grass textures first, the foliage textures, and we'll see how that plays out. And we may need to then come back to our ground textures, if you like, to get the full effect. But we'll have a look and see what happens first with just changing the actual grass textures first. So I found my foliage sublayer here, the actual grass. What I want to do is come across to my material ID, which is 698. I'm going to make a copy of that, and then I'm going to bring up my find window again, and I'm going to put that number in there. Because I've got it highlighted, the search window has already put it in. What I want to do is click the match whole word only, and I'm going to go find up. And what I'm looking for here is the material ID that matches that, which it's found for me straight away. Perfect. So I've got my foliage grass. That's fine, no problem. What I need to do here is find the actual file ID, which is 49. So I'm going to select that, bring up my find window, puts it in for me. Perfect. If it doesn't, just type it in there or paste it in, whatever. Again, with the match whole word only box ticked, I'm going to go find up, and then I'm looking for the file ID with the path file name to that particular grass texture that I want. So we've got our texture foliage grass underscore diffuse.png. So I need to find that particular folder or file. So if I go back into the map 01, The actual dot dot dash means that it's previous to this particular folder where the actual i3D is. So if I go back, we're looking for texture foliage, which is just here, and then I'm looking for grass underscore diffuse, which is just here. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that out onto my desktop here and make a copy of it. Perfect. We'll keep this open for now because I will need to probably come back to that. What I need to do now though is go into the actual FS17 version of Thornton Farm. I need to find the actual texture file there so that I can replace it with the other one. So again, I'm going to bring up my Notepad++ on the actual map01.i3D, and I'm going to do my search again for materials. So we'll just go through that like so, and we'll scroll down to our grass texture. Again, I need to find the material ID, which is 491 in this case. So we'll bring up our find window, match whole word only ticked again, and we'll go find up until we get our material ID that we're looking for, which is just there. So we've got foliage grass color underscore matte, which is our material ID. Should be right. We'll have a look at that and see what that brings us. So I want to find the actual file ID there, which is 52. So I'm going to bring that up, and I'm just going to search there. So in this particular case, we've got foliage rough grass diffuse. So we need to find that particular folder. So we're going to go back, and we've got foliage, and we want rough grass diffuse, which is just here. Excellent. So now what I need to do is I need to identify what the actual format that this particular channel, this DDS, is saved as, because it more than likely will differ from the old version. What I'll do is I'll just quickly open this in paint.net so you can actually see the differences between the two of them. So if I open both of them up, that's what we have from the FS17 textures, and this is the ones we're going to be, this is the one from the FS17 version. So I'm basically going to be replacing this with this. Hopefully, that's the plan anyway. So we'll close those down, we don't need those open for now. So I've got a program called WTV, I'll put a link in the description. This identifies DDS files and what formats they're saved in. So I'm going to take the rough grass underscore diffuse, and I'm going to just drag it in, click it, drag it, and let go. And it will then tell me what that's stored as. So it's a DXT5 with mipmap. Okay, excellent. So I'm just going to check what this one is, and that is a DXT3 with mipmap. So I need to change that to a DXT5 so that the game actually recognizes what it all is about. So it's a DXT5. So what I need to do is open this up in paint.net, and I'm just going to go save. I'm going to change it to a DXT5 with mipmap, and then go OK to save it. Perfect. You can just double check that if you want to. Go back into your WTV program, drag it in, DXT5 with mipmap. Perfect. Just want to double check the actual size. Shouldn't make any difference. 2048 by 512. 2848 by 512. Should be fine. Next thing we need to do here is actually change the name of this DDS to whatever this one is, rough grass underscore diffuse. You could also, if you wanted to, change the actual name here in the i3D, but I find it's just easier to take the name from here and then just rename the actual DDS file. So we're going to overwrite that like so. I'm going to Control X to cut it, come back over, and we'll just paste it in and replace it. Done. Perfect. Okay, so now what I can do is I'm just going to close those down for now so I don't mess anything up there. Don't like too much open there. And what I want to do now is go back into the Thornton Farm map in Giants Editor, but in this case it's going to be the FS17 version, just to see if that's actually taken and if it's caused any errors or whatever else. Sometimes textures are a little bit weird, they tend to cause a bit of problems, but when you're bringing them over and converting them or whatever else, hopefully that's not the case. So we'll just have a look and see what this has actually done and whether it's been successful or not. So we'll just wait for Giants Editor to load up here. Okay, there we go. So we've got no errors down the bottom of our console, so that's a pretty good start. So I'm just going to come over to an area here and we'll have a look at the textures and see what we get. Okay. So again, with the terrain editor window open, I'm just going to come down, scroll down to grass, and then I'm going to choose my Forest Channel 5 like we did earlier on in the video. Select my terrain forest paint mode, and we'll just do so like so. And there we go. We've now got our yellow textures, same as what we did in the FS17 version. It's relatively straightforward. It's just really changing that, using the WTV program, and then just checking what the actual save format is, and making sure that they match so that FS17 can recognize it and work with it. Okay, so one last thing I want to do here before we actually finish up is I'm going to open up both of the maps, the map 01s. I'm going to open both of them up in Notepad++ again. I'll show you the reason why I want to do that. Okay, so again we're going to search for our materials, so it brings us to the appropriate place. Again, this is the easiest way for me. So we'll do the same on this one, and we'll scroll down to our grass. Now you can easily identify which is the FS17 version because it shows a windrow, a grass windrow, whereas in the FS17 version it's not appropriate, doesn't use that function anymore, so it won't be there. But just in case your map is not actually named FS17 underscore and whatever, you can identify which is which just by looking at the different windrows. We don't have those in FS17 anymore. So I'm going to highlight the actual grass foliage sublayer line here, and what I want to do is come across, because I want to have a look at some information that's over here. Now there'll be slight differences between the FS15 and FS17 versions, but we have this part here which is called the num block per unit, the width, height, and a couple of bits over here which we might have to change, but this is the part that I want to be looking at and then make the appropriate changes just to get the correct density of grass on the map itself, because it can show up slightly differently if these numbers don't match up to what we're taking it from this particular map. So what I'll do is I'll come back over to the 17 version and we'll scroll across to find the same place. Okay, so what we have here then is on the FS17 version we have the same sort of setup, but the differences are that this has num blocks per unit default at 1.4, num blocks per unit min 1.2, and num blocks per unit max 1.6. Whereas in the FS15 version you just had one setup, which was just num blocks per unit 1.6. So I want to kind of have a play around with these and get these to be slightly higher. So what I want to do is I want to change this one here. I'm going to change this one to 6. So num blocks per unit 1.6. And then I'm going to change this one here to an 8. So we have default at 1.4, min is 1.6, and max is 1.8. Okay, we'll have a play around with that and see what that looks like. So the next thing I want to look at is the width. So if we take, this is the FS15 version, so we'll have a look at the width. I'll do, no I won't actually, let's just take that entire section there, copy that with Control C, we'll come over, so our width, so what we'll do here, what I will do is, I think, yeah, let's just drag that out so we can actually see them side by side here. Might be a little bit easier. So if we come across, we've now got, in this one, we've got, which is the FS15 version, we've got width at 0.25, 0.5 and 0.8. In the 17 version, we've got 0.25, 0.5 and 0.65. So obviously there's a slight difference there. So what I want to do is actually take the information from this one and put it over into this one. So I'm just going to copy it from the FS17 version, paste it into the FS17 version. Done. Okay, so height 0.25, 0.4, 0.65, they're the same, so we don't need to worry about those. And we'll have a look at our width variance just to see if there's any differences there. And our height variances, no, there's no difference whatsoever. Horizontal is exactly the same. Okay, so it's just the width we need to change there, and have a bit of a play around with the num blocks per unit, min, max and default. You will need to have a bit of a play around with those and just change the numbers to something that works for you to get the actual foliage density and whatever else you desire on your particular map. Okay, so I'm going to close both of those down, don't need those anymore. I'm going to open up the map again, the FS17 version in Giants Editor. So what we'll do here is we'll have a look again, find some grass, that'll do over here. And as you can see, by changing those parameters, it's slightly denser than it was before. It's a little bit thicker, it's not quite so spaced out. I do find that the standard grass texture from Goldcrest is a little bit spaced out. It tends to give too much gaps. You can see the ground texture underneath too clearly for me. I guess that works for some maps, but I don't think it's, for me at least, it just doesn't look right. But I like it when it's nice and dense like this, nice dense foliage. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. So we'll just test this again now. So if we scroll down, we'll change our foliage layer to grass again. We'll choose foliage channel 5, reselect our terrain foliage paint mode, and we'll just paint down. And as you can see, we get our nice yellow texture. I think that looks pretty good. And then we can choose 6 to paint that back in again. Perfect.